divided by 2. So meaning like about 670 calories from fat and 670 calories coming from carbs. Has it been clear so far how to calculate? Do you have any questions? So and then how to adjust your diet. So how I personally do, I would like cook a lot of meat, and so the most important number to meat here is the proteins. So how much is 160 grams of protein? Depending on what meat or fish you eat, it would be about like I would say 500-600 grams of animal food. I mean meat, fish, eggs, chicken breast, pork, and other things. So, and the rest of calories should come from proteins and from fats and carbs. So here you can use a calorie tracker, or how I personally do. I don't count any starchy vegetables as a calorie. So basically you can eat as much of spinach or celery or tomatoes as you want. So because the amount of calories contained in these vegetables is negligible. So normally I would cook like white rice or take any other carb source and use it. For example, 100 grams of dried rice contain about 80 grams of carbs. So 80 grams of carbs multiply 4 makes 320 calories. So basically you need 200 grams of white rice to meet your daily calories coming from carbs. In the same way, you can calculate the amount of fat that you're consuming. So just make sure that you're using not 4 calories a gram, but 9 calories a gram, because fat is much more dense source of calories. So this is if you want to lose fat. And now we can, so basically if you meet these calorie requirements, you should be losing fat. And as you remember, we first took the number 25 kilos per kilo of your body weight. So for example, you stay on this diet for 1 week and then you track your progress. If you are losing like, for an average man, like from 700 to a kilo, 2000 grams of weight a week. So this is a normal progress. So I should stay on this calorie rush for another week until the weight loss stops. So my advice would be to start conservatively. Don't go like to 20 calories or 18 calories per kilo of body weight. So take the conservative number, and if you are losing weight, just keep doing it until the weight loss stops. So what happens is it doesn't work. So I would change this number to 24, 23 calories. 24, 23 calories per kilo of body weight. And then again, stay on this diet for 1 more week if you started to lose weight. So keep going. So start with conservative effort and gradually build it up. Don't start very crazy with very big and severe calorie reduction. So we spoke about proteins, fats, and carbs, but obviously there are like better sources of proteins and there are worse sources of proteins. So when we speak about proteins, so the best proteins would be the proteins derived from animal sources, because Animal sources of protein, they contain all the amino acids that your body needs to build muscle. And also, if you take like plant-based proteins, so even if you eat them, not all the proteins from these sources get digested. So for example, on the paper, you eat like 100 grams of proteins from, I don't know, peas or beans, but only like 50% of these proteins could be used by the body. So normally if I go to weight loss diet, I use only like the animal proteins. But there are also some better sources of animal-based proteins than ours. So if you want better sources, I would try to get the organic meat, also the meats that are grass-fed, that don't have any antibiotics in them and don't have any like growth hormones. So you know there are some practices now when the producers of the meats they use antibiotics and growth hormones in the meat production. So about fats. So I personally use like olive oil, coconut oil, and butter. So carbs, and about carbs, I would use rice or potato and as much as I can starchy vegetables, which you need for keeping up your metabolism, for speeding up the digestion, and for getting the vitamins and minerals from. So this is the how to lose fat. So basically the same calculations you can make if you want to eat for maintenance or to eat for muscle gain. You just change this number. Yeah. Sure.
So basically, if you wanted to lose, for argument's sake, belly fat, you would first do a fat loss diet, and after that you would switch over to a maintenance diet?
It depends on the person. Is the person is the person like severely overweight, so he can lose weight without like much effort, just following the certain rules. And the certain rules would be, for example, to eat some animal proteins with each meal. So meaning like there are no breakfast containing only like cereals, orange juice and coffee. So eat animal-based proteins with every meal. Avoid any like sugary drinks. Eat starchy vegetables with each meal.
So that would be carrots, potatoes.
Yeah. And I think these rules they will naturally make him satiety, so he wouldn't like to eat more calories. And obviously stay from calorie-dense foods like ice cream, sweet drinks, fizzy drinks, desserts. So without counting calories, the person who is like 20-30% body fat, he can lose weight without worrying too much about the calculated numbers.
And from your point of view, if you are talking about this, let's say 2,000 calories by losing weight, and you have one cheesecake a day, or you have Coke or anything else, does it change the picture dramatically?
So, for example,
because a lot of I think most of the, let's say, our members or anyone actually, they're making some tiny things, which are from their point of view maybe not really important, but in the end of the day, that's make their insulin resistance high. They can't really adapt, or they're adapting to this insulin intake, blah blah blah, and in the end nothing is working. They're not losing weight, and they're kind of.
Oh, if I want like a cheesecake or something, so what would I do? I will still eat like my proteins and I will eat my starchy vegetables. But for example, if I want a cheesecake in the evening, I wouldn't have I wouldn't have my rice or my potatoes till the evening, and then have a cheesecake or something, or ice cream, or or whatever you can think about. Obviously, everybody, or pizza, everybody has his favorite drink, favorite food.
Alcohol is another question.
But what would happen if you make cheat meal like too often? So, for example, 2, 3, 5 days, you have been creating a calorie deficit, so you are like losing weight. So, if you make the cheat meals too often, so basically, what matters is the calorie deficit created not in 1 or 2 days, but within a week. So, if at the end of the week you destroyed all the efforts had made by the previous days, so you wouldn't lose the weight. So this is my
and it's really, I'm kind of making an experiment on myself right now, and it seems like a very really I'm minus I'm minus 5 kilos of muscles, obviously, but fat as well. And this is the very, it seems like a very super easy way to do it, but in the real life, nobody's really doing this. Because, yeah, I mean, you're kind of, yes, I have the chicken with the salad and this or that, but I'm always asking, you know, if we have a question, what should I do? Put the whole week on the piece of paper and you will be surprised how bad you are eating, and you're making millions of mistakes, and then I'm eating clean, what the fuck, but you know, this glass of wine or anything, it's a dramatic change. I mean, if we're talking about athletes like these guys or Camille or anybody else, their hormones are on an absolute different level, their training, etc., etc., etc. You can't really compare them or this guy, because he's 40 years old, he's in a perfect, he's strong as hell, and 3 times stronger than me, for example, and he's, I know this guy for quite a long time, but during 365 days a year, he has a 6-pack. And, well, at least when I see him. So you can check afterwards. So,
It's only for you.
We're quite close. So yeah, it seems like a very simple, stupid rule, and yeah, but in the end of the day, that's what really works. Today we were talking about EF fasting. Maybe some of you guys heard about it as well. Yes? EF?
intermittent fasting.
No?
Intermittent fasting. But ultimately, what matters is the total calories.
That's the point. So there are many different ways of dieting, and EF is a great thing, but in the end of the day, that's
But
how it
basically
works.
it's very easy. I mean, try to eat as many proteins as you can with each meal. So including like breakfast. Don't make any meals where you don't have any proteins. So this is like the first rule. Eat as much as you can the starchy vegetables. So meaning like spinach, tomatoes, peppers, whatever. I ran out of vegetables. So when you think about this, you can even like
They have prices in Russia right now.
So you can even like have a frozen vegetables. This is okay too. Mm-hmm. So and then what you really should count are the carbs and fats. So if you think about car, so think about proteins as a spare part for your car. Mm-hmm. So proteins, they can't be converted to fat. Also another good thing about proteins, so when you eat proteins, you're increasing your metabolic rate. So basically it keeps your temperature a little bit higher, so it helps you to burn other calories. So that in the same way as a training session. So after the training session, your metabolism stays higher. So the same thing happens when you eat a lot of proteins. So, and you should worry only about like, carbs and fats. So try to eat as much as you can of proteins and vegetables, and really watch carbs and fats. And also, I mean, try to make sure that the carbs and fats are coming from the healthy sources. I mean, everybody, I think, knows what healthy sources are. Like olive oil, nuts, butters. This is healthy sources, and probably some margarines and trans fats are not healthy sources.
Žádné co?
Žádný čipsy.
So, how do you tackle
Alcohol,
the problem of with a busy life schedule? Like, are you actually prepare all your weekly meals, or do you what do you look for when you actually tend to go out for food?
I work in the gym, so it's a little bit different. So basically, what I do in the evening, or like once every like 3 days, I cook like big portion of protein. So I have a for example, grill, yes. So you put a lot of like chicken breast and you cook like, so for me like 2 kilos of chicken breast. Also in the winter I use like frozen vegetables. So I also like cook them, put in the containers, and then each meal I take like proteins. I put little of rice, little bit of fat, and little bit. I mean, I eat proteins, rice, olive oil, and rice. Mm. So this is how I do it. But if I go to a restaurant, so when I sit and have a look at the menu, the first thing which I consider is what meat or fish to eat. So first, when you make a choice, you make a choice from which source in this menu I can get the most proteins from. Obviously, there are like other things to consider, like whether you like this protein or not. But this is your personal choice. So what is more important for you, like the taste or the health and appearance consequences? So I choose a protein, and then next thing which I consider, like I will ask about like a bowl of salad, and then you choose a carb source. So it could be rice. So if it is potato, it's a little bit problematic because potato normally it's fried and it will come with a lot of oil. And when you have like white rice, you're pretty sure that you're eating only rice. I don't know. Probably you you make a choice in the restaurant differently. But just remember all these like business lunch menu in order to make them cheaper, and the cheapest sources of food are unfortunately fats and carbs. So normally in business lunches, if you like consider like an average business lunch, it will have a lot of, I don't know, potato, pasta, oil, a lot of like grain-based food, and very little protein to make business lunch cheaper. At least this is the situation in Russia, and probably in Czech Republic is different.
Not really.
Not really. So normally everywhere the proteins are more expensive, and all the garbage foods are the mixture of carbs and fats. Have I answered your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
I mean, you have to make some effort, either to cook food or to make the reasonable choice. Also, there are other options to increase your protein intake, which is like eating protein powders, which are very valuable sources of protein. Just about it, because so proteins normally they don't increase your insulin levels. But the exception are proteins coming from milk and dairy products and protein powders. You know about insulin. Is everybody familiar with what insulin does for your body?
So
I think well, that's kind of a key to most of the people problem is insulin resistant. And если ты можешь кратко просто объяснить человеку, как это работает.
So basically what happens...
And glycemic index, which is super important for everybody. That is two major things which ruin your game, actually, kind of.
So basically, when you have a meal, and normally a meal contains like proteins, in say some mixture of proteins, carbs, and fats. So you start to digest this meal, and the carbs, which are basically the sugars, they go into your bloodstream, in your blood. So the level of sugar in your blood starts to raise, to go up. So your brain notices the situation, and it gives an order to your pancreas to produce insulin. So insulin is the hormone which is responsible for storage. So basically it takes the sugar from your blood and stores it either in the muscles or in your liver. So normally if you have the meal which consists of a lot of starchy vegetables and a lot. I will say it differently. Each product, if you eat it alone, has different speed with which the sugar goes to your blood. For example, if you eat a carrot stick, so the sugar will go to the blood very slowly. And because the sugar goes to blood very slowly, so it will create very little spike of insulin. And also, if you have constant blood sugar, the brain thinks that you are not hungry. But what happens if you eat, for example, I don't know, chips? Yes. So chips, they have very high glycemic index, which means that the sugar from the chips, it goes to the bloodstream very quickly. So suddenly you have a spike of sugar in your blood. So brain notices it, and it makes the pancreas to inject insulin in your bloodstream. And blood is very quickly cleared from the sugar. And then you feel hungry again. And then you want another chips. And if you eat carrot sticks, you have constant blood sugar with very little ups and downs of insulin. The problem with protein powders, so even it's and the most insulin sensitive foods are carbs. Normally proteins, they don't make huge insulin response. But the protein powders, for some reason, they bring about very high protein spike, which is not a problem if you have just finished your workout, because insulin is anabolic hormone. So it's responsible for the storage of the nutrients from your blood in your muscles and other tissues. So insulin after workout is a good thing, but insulin if you didn't have any workout, is not necessarily the good thing, because soon after the spike of insulin, you would feel that you're hungry again. And this is what basically glycemic index is. Glycemic index shows with which speed the sugar from the products that you have just consumed goes to your bloodstream. So in order to avoid ups and downs of insulin and ups and downs of being hungry and being happy, being hungry and being happy again, so try to eat the food which keeps the insulin and sugar in your blood constant. But when we speak about glycemic index, so you should understand that it's not you never eat I mean, you rarely eat like only carrot sticks. You normally mix the foods, like you eat some rice, you eat like proteins, you eat some like starchy vegetables. So, and then you have a glycemic index, not like every product in it. So you have like the glycemic index of whole mixture. So then, because rice is very like high glycemic, has very high glycemic index. But normally you wouldn't eat rice alone. You would eat rice with some proteins and starchy vegetables. And these starchy vegetables and proteins, they lower the glycemic index and insulin response produced by eating this food. So this could be used if you want to eat some like non-healthy food. So if you want to eat like cheesecake or some dessert, make sure that beforehand you had some proteins and I don't know, and cabbage or something. So in this case, you would have not like you would still have a spike of insulin in your blood, but it would be lessened by consumption of the starchy vegetables and proteins beforehand.
But at the same time, if you are eating a healthy banana, like Ian, or apple, which is super good fruit, it's basically sugars. And if you are just kind of snacking with fruits, you have the same.
So the thing with the fruit, yes, if you want to lose weight, yes, because sugars, they can come in different carbs, they can come in different forms.
And the sugar itself is, let's say, 100%. It's on the top of the glycemic index, so it goes immediately. That's kind of.
No, actually, it's.
Or maybe yes, you have some.
Potato has higher glycemic index than even like white sugar. So it's not necessarily. So the sugars could be simple and
complex.
Mm-hmm. So simple sugars you can find simple and complex. So complex sugars would be rice, potatoes, bread. And simple sugars would be like honey, sugar, fruits. So simple sugars, they also they can contain fructose and sucralose. So fructose, when it's digested, it doesn't go to the muscles. So when you like train as an athlete, when you do like CrossFit workouts, you deplete the muscles from glycogen, and to replenish this fuel, you should eat more of these products, because fructose from fruits, it goes not to the muscles, it goes to the liver. So if you want to recover from a workout faster, you would use more like complex carbs, but not fructose.
So forget about your bananas, my friend.
So simply,
maybe later at night with your boyfriend, but
so the better choice would be like rice crackers, or just rice, or potato, as a comparison to an apple or banana, because apple and banana, they are very high in fructose, and to replenish what you just spent in the gym, you want more like complex carbs. So this is one thing, and another thing, that too much fructose, it can slow down your metabolism. So basically you would be spending less energy when you are resting. So two things, if you're an athlete, so you would rather make the source of your carbs complex carbs. And the second thing, if you are not an athlete, but if you want to lose weight, so you still will make the major source of your carbs complex carbs, but complex parts, complex carbs, but not fruits. And when we were speaking about fruits, the fruits are different. So, for example, if you eat fruits, so some tropical fruits, they are very high in fructose, and also they are, I mean, in comparison, lower in the good nutrients like vitamins, polyphenols, and other good stuff. So, if you want fruits, so the better if you would consume more like berries compared to tropical fruits like bananas, mangoes, and какие там еще exotic fruits.
which we don't have in Russia. Only kartoshka. Which is a complex one, so that's why they're so strong.
So this is the
So it
thing
would be
about
better to eat potato after the workout.
Pardon?
It would be
But
better
it's,
to-
boss, it's very important. It should be a Russian one, exported. So in this
from
case,
Chernobyl.
obviously, you're losing fat, you're
So
gaining
maybe
muscles,
potatoes
and your
after
balls are
the
getting
workout.
bigger and bigger.
Good.
That's the secret.
And just one small thing, like these numbers that I gave to you, like 30 calories per kilo of body weight for maintenance, 22-25 for weight loss, 35-40 calories per kilo of body weight for muscle gain. They are just an estimate. Everybody is different. So all these numbers would be affected by your activity status. So basically how much you train, how often you train, the volume of your training, the intensity of your training. Also, they are going to be affected by your age. So younger people, they can lose weight on the more conservative approach. Also, by age, by the sex, male or female, by your other recovery factors, how much you sleep, etc.
By other sex,
How often you have sex, or
No.
either anal or something else. It's very important. The amount of pain and stress.
do you have any questions about nutrition?
Yeah. How would you distribute the meals during the day?
So there are many approaches. As Roman said, there is an approach called intermittent fasting,
Yeah.
when you have like the eating window between what you start to eat at 2 and finish at 8. And you have like bodybuilding approach when you have like 6-8 small meals throughout the day. I personally like the average approach when you have like three meals a day. Otherwise it becomes too much like headache. Also, like if you speak to a bodybuilder, so you remember I wrote like proteins, fats, and carbs. So a bodybuilder would say like, so everybody will agree on the protein number, which is from 2 to